The quiet of Earth's monitoring station broke with a blaring alarm. Red lights flashed across the control room as technicians rushed to their stations. Captain Lee wiped sleep from his eyes, having been jolted awake from his short nap in the adjacent room. "Report," he ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Sir, we've detected multiple objects entering the solar system beyond Pluto's orbit," said Lieutenant Kim, her fingers flying across the holographic display. "They're massive, and they're moving faster than anything we've ever tracked." The main screen displayed a cluster of shapes, each larger than any spacecraft humans had ever built. They moved with precision, maintaining perfect formation as they crossed the invisible boundary of humanity's home system. "Natural phenomenon?" Captain Lee asked, though he already knew the answer. "No, sir. These are ships, artificial constructs, and they're heading directly toward Earth." Within hours, the news had spread across the planet. Governments called emergency sessions. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. For decades, humanity had sent signals into space, wondering if anyone was listening. Now they had their answer. 3 days later, as the alien fleet passed Jupiter, they transmitted their first message. It came through on all frequencies, in perfect English, and every other major Earth language. Director Park sat in the United Nations chamber with world leaders and military commanders as the message played. The alien that appeared on screen had 6 limbs and skin that shimmered like oil on water. When it spoke, its voice carried a metallic echo. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Hegemony, rulers of 50,000 worlds across this spiral arm. Your primitive species has been observed for some time. You will now submit to hegemony rule. Your resources and population will be cataloged. Your governments will be replaced. Resistance is not advised." The chamber fell silent. Director Park looked around at the pale faces and trembling hands of Earth's leaders. Fear was the expected response. Fear was reasonable when faced with a technologically superior force that could likely destroy the planet without effort. But something stirred in Director Park that wasn't fear. It bubbled up from deep inside, surprising even her when it emerged as a laugh, short, sharp, and loud enough to echo through the silent chamber. All eyes turned to her. "I'm sorry," she said, not looking sorry at all. But did they really cross light years of space to deliver the most cliched ultimatum possible? Submit or die. That's the best they could come up with. A few nervous chuckles joined hers. "We've been killing each other over territory, resources, and ideology for thousands of years," Director Park continued, standing now. "We've faced extinction from our own weapons, our own pollution, asteroids, and disease. And each time, we've looked destruction in the face and said, 'Not today.'" The room's atmosphere began to shift. Backs straightened, chins lifted. "Humans don't submit well," Director Park said. "It's our worst quality and our best. We're stubborn, we're defiant, and apparently, we're about to show the galaxy exactly what that means." The Earth Defense Fleet wasn't large, just 27 ships built for exploration and protection against asteroids. They were never designed to face an alien armada, but as they gathered at Earth's orbit, the crews showed none of the fear the hegemony expected. Admiral Choi addressed the fleet from the bridge of the flagship Defiance. "They expect us to bow," he said, his image appearing on every ship's command center. "They expect us to beg. They've conquered so many worlds that they think it's the natural order. But they've never met humans before." The alien fleet grew larger in the view screens. Massive ships shaped like perfect geometric forms, hundreds of them now visible against the backdrop of stars. "We may not match their firepower," Admiral Choi continued. "We may not match their numbers. But we have something they don't expect. We have the audacity to believe we can win." When the hegemony commander demanded Earth's surrender one final time, Captain Lee was chosen to respond. His small ship approached the lead alien vessel, which was so large it blotted out the sun. "This is Captain Lee of Earth," he transmitted. "We've considered your offer to submit to hegemony rule." He paused, letting the silence stretch until the alien commander shifted uncomfortably on screen. Our answer is no. Earth belongs to humans. We will not surrender it. Not now. Not ever. You cannot hope to defeat us. The alien replied. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are few. Why throw away your lives in a hopeless battle? Captain Lee smiled. Because we'd rather die on our feet than live on our knees. That's something you'll learn about humans. We don't calculate odds the way you do. Even when we should lose, we often win. It confuses our enemies, right before we defeat them. The alien's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly in what humans would later learn was an expression of shock. Prepare your weapons, Captain Lee said as he turned his ship back toward the Earth fleet. You're about to discover why it's a mistake to threaten us. Earth forces, battle stations. The Earth fleet formed a thin defensive line between the planet and the approaching hegemony armada. From his position on the bridge of the EDF Defiance, Admiral Choi could see all 27 human ships displayed as small green dots on the tactical screen. Against them, over 300 red markers represented the alien vessels. They've arranged themselves in a standard approach formation, reported Lieutenant Kang, studying the display. 6-tier staggered line. Exactly what the textbooks would recommend for overwhelming force. Admiral Choi nodded. And that's their first mistake. They'd follow rules. We break them. The main screen flickered to life with the image of the hegemony commander. The alien's skin rippled with colors that shifted from blue to purple as it spoke. Your defiance is illogical. Our smallest ship carries weapons that could vaporize your entire fleet. Submit now and your lives will be spared. Admiral Choi stood straight, hands clasped behind his back. We appreciate your concern for our safety, but we'll take our chances. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Signal all ships. Execute pattern thunder. Across the fleet, engines flared to life. Instead of holding position or retreating, the Earth ships suddenly accelerated in seemingly random directions. Some darted forward. Others spun on their axes while changing speed. 2 smaller vessels appeared to be on collision courses before veering away at the last second. On the hegemony command ship, Supreme Commander Tool watched in confusion. What are they doing? He demanded of his tactical officers. Their movements make no sense. Are their navigation systems malfunctioning? His second-in-command, Officer Mez, studied the erratic movements of the human ships. I believe these actions are deliberate, Commander. Impossible. No fleet fights with such chaos. There is no strategic advantage in unpredictability. The first shots came from the hegemony's forward cannons, massive energy beams that should have split the human vessels in half. But the Earth ships were no longer where they were supposed to be. Their wild, unpredictable movements had carried them clear of the carefully calculated firing solutions. On the Defiance, Admiral Choi allowed himself a small smile. Phase 2. Deploy quantum mines. Small dark objects ejected from the Earth ships, seemingly floating harmlessly in space. The hegemony fleet, built on thousands of years of conventional warfare tactics, did not register them as weapons. Supreme Commander, Officer Mez called out suddenly. Our shields are failing on multiple vessels. How is this possible? Commander Toll watched in growing alarm as system after system reported failures. The human weapons weren't attacking their hulls. They were somehow bypassing shields and targeting internal systems directly. Impossible, he whispered again, but with less certainty. Admiral Choi's voice came through on all frequencies. Your shields are designed to stop energy and physical impacts. Our quantum mines don't attack your ships. They attack the space around them. The laws of physics become negotiable near them. 2 hegemony cruisers drifted powerless, their engines shut down by weapons they couldn't understand. A third spun slowly, its artificial gravity fluctuating wildly. Commander Toll slammed his fist against his command console. All ships, advance and fire. Destroy them with overwhelming force. The remaining hegemony ships surged forward, weapons charging. But again, The human fleet moved in ways that defied prediction. Where the aliens expected retreat, humans advanced. Where they anticipated standard evasive patterns, the Earth ships performed maneuvers that seemed to ignore the limitations of inertia. On the Defiance, warning signals flashed as a massive energy beam passed dangerously close. "They're adapting their targeting," Lieutenant Kang warned. "We can't dodge forever." "We don't need forever," Admiral Choi replied calmly. "We just need them frustrated enough to make mistakes." The tactical display showed the hegemony formation beginning to break down as individual ships chased after the elusive human vessels. The perfect, disciplined approach had transformed into a scattered pursuit. "Their formation is compromised," Admiral Choi announced. "All ships, execute Hornet strike." The Earth fleet suddenly reversed course, each ship selecting a target and accelerating directly toward it. The hegemony vessels, now separated from their support ships, found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Commander Toole watched in disbelief as the humans closed to point-blank range. "They're insane," he muttered. "No species fights this way. There are protocols, strategies refined over millennia." The bridge shook as the Defiance scored a direct hit on his command ship's sensor array. Admiral Choi opened a channel to the hegemony commander. The alien skin had paled to a light gray. "You're probably wondering how we're doing this," Choi said conversationally, even as his ship rolled to avoid incoming fire. "The answer is simple. Humans have never agreed on the right way to fight. We have thousands of military traditions, each with different tactics. Where you standardize warfare, we kept reinventing it." A human destroyer took a direct hit and exploded in brilliant light. 3 more hegemony ships lost power. "We call it asymmetrical warfare," Admiral Choi continued. "It's kept us alive against superior forces throughout our history. And now, it's giving us a chance against you." Commander Tull's voice trembled when he finally responded. "What do you want, humans?" "For now, just for you to understand that conquering Earth will cost you more than it's worth. We're not as primitive as you thought, and we're far more stubborn than you can imagine." The battle wasn't over, but something had changed in the hegemony commander's eyes. For the first time in his long career, he felt something unfamiliar. He felt doubt. Commander Han's fingers tapped nervously on the arm of his command chair as the EDF Thunderbolt slid silently into Neptune's shadow. The gas giant's swirling blue clouds provided a backdrop that might hide his ship from the hegemony sensors, at least for a while. "Status of the alien fleet?" he asked, keeping his voice low even though sound couldn't travel through space. 3 cruisers and 2 support vessels approaching Neptune's orbit, Commander, replied Officer Song from the sensor station. "They're searching the rings systematically. They know we're here somewhere." After the initial confrontation near Earth, the battle had spread throughout the solar system. The hegemony had split their forces, determined to hunt down and destroy the troublesome human ships that had embarrassed them. Commander Han's task force of 4 vessels had retreated to Neptune, drawing a portion of the alien fleet away from Earth. All ships maintain communication blackout. Use thrusters only when absolutely necessary, Han ordered through the secure, short-range system. "Remember the plan. We need them to come deeper into the ring system." Neptune's rings weren't as magnificent as Saturn's, but they provided excellent cover. The mixture of ice, dust, and small rocks created a natural maze where ships could hide. It was also the perfect place for an ambush. "Commander, the lead hegemony cruiser is entering the outer ring," reported Officer Song. Her voice remained professional, but Han could see the tension in her shoulders. "Their shields are creating a visible disturbance in the ice particles." Han nodded. "That's their second mistake. They're showing us exactly where they are." On the main display, Neptune's rings appeared as a delicate band of light. Within that band, a ripple moved slowly as the massive alien ship pushed through the debris. The disturbance was subtle, but to trained eyes, it was like watching a shark move through shallow water. "Are our quantum disruptors ready?" Han asked. "Yes, sir," Officer Song replied. modified as Admiral Choi suggested. They're still confused about how our weapons bypass their shields. They think it's impossible. Han allowed himself a small smile. Sometimes the impossible just means no one's tried it yet. The Earth scientists had discovered something unexpected about the alien shield technology. The hegemony shields were designed to block physical objects and energy weapons by creating a barrier in normal space. But the quantum disruptors operated differently, briefly shifting their effect into a parallel phase state where the shield simply didn't exist. By the time the hegemony realized what was happening, their systems were already compromised. They're moving deeper into the rings, Officer Song reported. All 3 cruisers now visible. Han checked the tactical display. The hegemony ships were moving in a search pattern, methodically sweeping through Neptune's rings. They were powerful and well-armed, but they moved with a predictability that made Han shake his head. Thousands of years of unchallenged superiority had made them complacent. "Signal the other ships," Han ordered quietly. "Prepare to execute Poseidon's trident. On my mark." The Thunderbolt's engines remained cold as Han counted down the seconds. Timing would be everything. The 4 Earth ships were positioned at key points throughout the ring system, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Mark," Han said simply. Across Neptune's orbit, 4 human ships suddenly powered up their engines. They accelerated from different directions, converging on the hegemony vessels like wolves on prey. The Thunderbolt shuddered as it pushed through the ring material, ice particles scattering in its wake. "They've detected us," Officer Song called out. "Hegemony cruisers are powering weapons. Their formation is shifting to defensive posture alpha." "Just as expected," Han replied. "Launch quantum disruptors, full spread." The small, seemingly innocuous devices shot from the Thunderbolt's launch tubes, spreading out toward the nearest hegemony cruiser. To alien sensors, they would appear as nothing more than chunks of ice and rock, indistinguishable from the ring material around them. The first alien ship detected the approach too late. The quantum disruptors activated simultaneously, creating a field where the laws of physics temporarily bent. Inside that field, the cruiser's shields flickered and died. Its engines sputtered as power systems failed. "Direct hit on their primary systems," Officer Song reported with satisfaction. "Their weapons are offline." But the victory was short-lived. The other hegemony vessels had learned from the first attack and adjusted their defenses. Energy beams lanced through space, narrowly missing the Thunderbolt as Han ordered evasive maneuvers. "They're adapting," he warned the other captains. "Switch to pattern beta. Use the ring to brace for cover." The battle transformed into a deadly dance through Neptune's rings. Earth ships darted between chunks of ice, using the natural debris as shields against the powerful hegemony weapons. The human vessels were smaller and more maneuverable, but one direct hit would be enough to destroy them. An alarm blared on the Thunderbolt's bridge as a hegemony beam grazed their port side. Damage reports flooded in, but Han kept his focus on the tactical display. "They're trying to hurt us out of the rings," he realized aloud. "Don't fall for it. Stay in the debris field." After 3 hours of intense fighting, 2 Earth ships had been badly damaged, forced to retreat deeper into Neptune's shadow for emergency repairs. But the hegemony had paid a price too. One cruiser drifted powerless, its systems completely shut down by repeated quantum disruptions. Another limped away with significant damage to its weapons array. As the battle reached its 7th hour, the bridge of the Thunderbolt was filled with the smell of overheated electronics and sweat. Officer Song worked silently at her station, her uniform stained with blood from a minor cut on her forehead. "Commander," she said suddenly, "I'm receiving a transmission from the remaining hegemony vessel. They're requesting a temporary ceasefire." Han stared at the screen in disbelief. The hegemony, with their thousands of years of conquest, were asking for a pause in battle with a species they had dismissed as primitive. "Put them through," he ordered. The alien commander's face appeared on screen, his skin a pale yellow that humans would later learn indicated extreme stress. "This is impossible," the hegemony commander said without preamble. Your technology is inferior. Your numbers are insufficient. By all calculations, you should be defeated. Commander Han straightened in his chair, ignoring the pain from a bruised shoulder. Yet here we are, he replied simply. Perhaps you should reconsider your assessment of humanity. Scientist Jun had never seen the Grand Strategic Council chamber so crowded. The circular room at the heart of the Hegemony flagship was filled with military commanders, scientific advisors, and political representatives from across the galactic hegemony. All had gathered to discuss one problem. Humans. I do not understand their success, Supreme Commander Tool said, his skin flickering between colors of frustration and shame. They are outnumbered. Their technology is centuries behind ours, yet they continue to resist effectively. Scientist Jum stepped forward, carrying a small data device. As the hegemony's leading xenobiologist, he had been studying Earth and its inhabitants since before first contact. With permission, he said quietly, I believe I have found answers. The room fell silent as Jum activated his device. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing images of Earth's history. Humans have been fighting each other for their entire recorded history, Jun explained. Where other species eventually standardized their military approaches, humans never did. The hologram showed ancient armies clashing with swords and spears, then shifted to modern warfare with tanks and aircraft, then to the early space conflicts between Earth nations. In just a few thousand years, they developed and abandoned hundreds of different military doctrines, Jun continued. Roman legions, Mongol horsemen, guerrilla fighters, naval tactics, air combat, cyber warfare, their approaches constantly evolved. Officer Mez, who had faced humans directly in the Neptune battle, leaned forward. You're saying their chaotic approach is intentional? Precisely, Jun said. They call it asymmetrical warfare, the strategy of the weaker force using unconventional methods against a stronger opponent. The council members shifted uncomfortably. For millennia, the hegemony had conquered through superior numbers and technology. Their military doctrine had remained largely unchanged for thousands of years. There had been no need to adapt when every species they encountered fought in predictable ways. But there's more, Jun said. He changed the display to show human entertainment. Movies, books, games. Humans constantly imagine scenarios where they face superior forces. They create stories about being invaded by powerful aliens and somehow winning against impossible odds. Fiction, scoffed one military commander. Fantasy. Yes, agreed Jun. But these fantasies prepared their minds to face us without surrendering to hopelessness. When we arrived with our ultimatum, they had already imagined this moment thousands of times. In their stories, humans always find a way to win. The hologram changed again, showing quantum physics equations. Their quantum disruptors were theoretical technology before we arrived, Jun explained. When they saw our shield systems, they accelerated development of weapons specifically designed to counter them. They adapted to us faster than we could adapt to them. Supreme Commander Toll's skin had settled into a deep blue of serious consideration. What do you recommend, Scientist Jun? We have two options, Jun replied. Continue the conflict with uncertain results, or consider a different approach. The chamber doors slid open before he could elaborate. A human delegation had arrived aboard the flagship under temporary truce. Ambassador Moon led the small group, her formal attire contrasting with the military uniforms of her security detail. Thank you for allowing this meeting, Ambassador Moon said, her voice calm despite standing in the heart of an enemy vessel. Your resistance has been noted, Supreme Commander Tool replied carefully. But surely you realize it cannot continue indefinitely. The resources of the hegemony are vast. Ambassador Moon smiled. Yet you invited us here to talk rather than continuing to fight. That suggests you see value in an alternative approach. She activated her own data device. A holographic image of a hegemony cruiser appeared, with specific areas highlighted. This is your vessel designation, TN 7291, she said. currently disabled near Saturn. We identified 17 critical vulnerabilities in its design. With modest modifications, our quantum disruptors could permanently disable rather than temporarily affect your ships. The council chamber erupted in angry murmurs. One military commander rose to his feet. "This is a threat. They come here to threaten us." Ambassador Moon shook her head. "Not a threat. A demonstration. We could have destroyed that ship and everyone aboard. We chose not to. Just as we're choosing to offer partnership rather than continue this conflict." She deactivated the hologram and looked directly at Supreme Commander Tool. "The hegemony has conquered through force for thousands of years. You've absorbed technologies and resources from countless worlds, but you've stopped innovating. Your tactics haven't evolved because they haven't needed to, until now." Scientist June couldn't help but nod in agreement. His research had shown exactly this pattern. "We offer a different arrangement," Ambassador Moon continued. "Earth remains independent, but we join the hegemony as equals. We share our unique perspective, our innovative thinking and unconventional approaches. In return, we gain access to galactic resources and knowledge." The council chamber divided into heated discussions. Some demanded immediate rejection of the proposal. Others, particularly those who had faced humans in battle, seemed more contemplative. Supreme Commander Tool raised his hand for silence. "You ask us to break thousands of years of tradition, to treat a less advanced species as equals. Why would we consider this?" Ambassador Moon's answer was simple. "Because fighting us will cost you more than accepting us. We're not asking for charity. We're offering value. Humans think differently. We solve problems in ways you haven't considered. Our chaotic history has benefits you haven't recognized." Scientist June stepped forward again. "Commander, my research supports the humans' assessment. Their species has an unusual capacity for innovation under pressure. This quality could be valuable to the hegemony." The council chamber fell into an uncomfortable silence. For the first time in living memory, the galactic hegemony was considering negotiation rather than conquest. Supreme Commander Toll's skin shifted to a color humans would later learn indicated deep thought. "We will consider your proposal," he said finally. "The council must deliberate." As Ambassador Moon and her team were escorted from the chamber, Scientist June watched them go with fascination. In all his studies of alien species, he had never encountered one quite like humans, a primitive species that somehow made primitiveness an advantage. Captain Yoon stood in the shadows of a maintenance corridor on the Hegemony flagship, her heart pounding against her ribs. 5 other humans crouched beside her, each wearing the dark stealth suits developed specifically for this mission. Their breath fogged in the cold air of the rarely used passageway. "Status," Yoon whispered into her comm unit. "Security patrol just past Junction 7, replied Officer Min from his position near the ship's central hub. "You have 4 minutes to reach the next checkpoint." The mission was incredibly dangerous. While negotiations between Earth and the hegemony continued, the Council remained divided. The Traditionalist faction, led by War Commander Sek, had secretly prepared a massive strike against Earth. Captain Yoon's team had been sent to gather proof of these plans and, if possible, prevent the attack. "Move," Yoon ordered, and her team slipped from the shadows. They passed through the massive ship like ghosts, using the schematics provided by Scientist June, who had risked everything to help them. The Hegemony vessel's design prioritized efficiency over security. They had never expected enemies to board their ships. This overconfidence created vulnerabilities that Yoon's team exploited. When they reached the main data core, Officer Park connected a small device to the alien interface. "I need 3 minutes," he whispered, his fingers flying across the holographic controls. Their encryption is complex but predictable. Captain Yoon positioned the others as guards while Park worked. The plan was simple but audacious. Access the ship's communication systems, gather evidence of the planned attack, and place special devices at key locations throughout the flagship. "I've got it," Park said finally. War Commander Sec has ordered 5 dreadnoughts to position themselves for a strike on Earth. The attack is scheduled to begin in 12 hours. Yoon nodded grimly. Download everything. Then plant the package. Park hesitated. Captain, are we sure about this? If we wanted to, we could use this access to disable their weapon systems, maybe even their life support. That's not our mission, Yoon replied firmly. We're not here to kill. We're here to prove we could have, but chose not to. They placed their special devices, small quantum transmitters designed by Earth's scientists, at 20 critical points throughout the ship. Each could, if activated, disable a major system. Together, they could render the entire flagship powerless. As they placed the final device near the bridge, an alarm suddenly blared through the corridors. We've been detected. Officer Min's voice crackled over the comm. Security forces converging on your position. Everyone retreat to Extraction Point Alpha, Yoon ordered. Mission accomplished. The team scattered, using pre-planned routes to reach their hidden shuttle. Officer Park was the last to arrive, breathing hard as he sealed the airlock behind him. They almost had me, he gasped as the shuttle detached from the hegemony ship. But I got everything we needed. 6 hours later, as the Hegemony Council gathered to finalize their plans, every screen on the flagship suddenly activated. Captain Yoon's face appeared before the startled aliens. Greetings, Council members, she said calmly. By now, your security teams have discovered some of the devices we placed throughout your ship. There are others they haven't found yet. War Commander Sec rose from his seat, skin flashing angry red. This is an outrage. How dare you? We know about the planned attack on Earth, Yoon continued, ignoring the interruption. We accessed your secure communications. We could have used that access to disable your fleet. Instead, we're giving you a demonstration. She pressed a control, and throughout the flagship, lights flickered briefly before stabilizing. That was a 5% power reduction across all systems, Yoon explained. A warning, not an attack. We could have taken control of your weapons, your engines, your life support. We chose not to. Supreme Commander Toll stepped forward, his skin a mixture of concern and curiosity. What is the meaning of this intrusion? It's a lesson, Yoon replied. Humans don't think the way you do. Where you see conquest, we see potential partnership. Where you rely on overwhelming force, we find creative solutions. She transmitted data to the Council's displays, the complete plans for War Commander Sec's attack, along with the locations of every device planted by Yoon's team. Consider this our final argument in favor of the treaty Ambassador Moon proposed. Earth remains independent, but joins the hegemony as an equal partner. We offer innovation and a fresh perspective. You offer technology and resources. The Council chamber erupted in heated discussion. War Commander Sec demanded immediate retaliation, but others were clearly impressed by the humans' audacity and their restraint. 3 months later, Ambassador Kang stood in that same council chamber, now as Earth's official representative to the galactic hegemony. The treaty had been signed after weeks of tense negotiation. Earth had maintained its independence while joining the interstellar community as equals rather than subjects. You realize this is unprecedented, Supreme Commander Toll said as they walked together after the ceremony. No species has ever joined the hegemony without first submitting to our rule. Ambassador Kang smiled. Perhaps that's why the hegemony has become stagnant. When was the last time you encountered a truly new idea? Within a year, human innovations began spreading throughout hegemony space. Earth's quantum technology, developed rapidly under pressure, found applications far beyond weapons. Human artistic concepts, educational methods, and unconventional thinking challenged thousands of years of rigid traditions. Captain Yoon, now promoted to admiral, watched from the observation deck of Earth's new defense station as human and hegemony ships conducted joint training exercises. The massive alien vessels still dwarfed Earth's fleet, but the size difference no longer seemed threatening. They still don't understand why we laughed when they first demanded our surrender, she said to Officer Park, who stood beside her. Maybe they never will, Park replied. But they're learning that sometimes the smallest planets have the strongest wills. Yoon nodded, remembering those tense days of first contact. And that laughter in the face of impossible odds isn't madness. She watched as a human shuttle executed a complex maneuver that the hegemony pilots were struggling to copy. Sometimes, she said with a smile, it's the most powerful weapon of all.